Hi everyone. I apologize for a little bit of delay. We had some technical difficulties here because when technology is working, it's amazing. But as Jeff could tell, his stories, it not always happened like this. So today, welcome with me, Jeff Bullas, who I'm super excited to have here today on a live broadcasting. And I could be bragging about him for hours and hours, but let's just say that, yeah, we could. I have all the list, but let's say the newest one, he was listed by Forbes as one of the top 20 influencers in 2017 as CMOS. And then also he's #1 global digital marketing influencer. And when I was looking at his blog, which is jeffbullas.com, I found out that he has over 16 million visitors a year, which just that amount of people visiting him, it's just amazing proof himself. So let's welcome Jeff here with me today.
Hi, Patty. It's great to be on your little show here. So, well, not little show, it's a show. It's just fantastic. Thank you very much for inviting me. And it's good to be here. And by the way, I'm actually in the future. So just letting you know that you're on Thursday. I'm already in Friday here in Sydney, Australia. So I'm in the future.
Oh, wow. I love that. That's, when I called to my grandma to Czech Republic, she's also like 9 hours ahead of time. So she's always trying to guess what time do I have, what day I have. So you know what? I think that's why you have always the newest information, because you're living in the future.
That's right. Just don't tell the Americans, okay? Because we actually have the inside scoop from the day ahead of you guys, okay? So, yep, the Aussies have got it nailed, okay?
Are you insinuating that I should move to Australia too?
It's a lovely place, but we're a long way from anywhere. So it's it's a 14-hour flight to the west coast of the USA. In one little flight, so yeah, so we're a long way from anywhere. It's a great book written by one of our authors called The Tyranny of Distance, and that's certainly very much about a long way away. But there's a certain charm in that, and it makes it harder for the bad guys to come and get us. So it's good.
I have a fitness coaching client. She lives in Australia too, and she's sending me like pictures of kangaroos from her backyard. And yep. I'm like, oh my gosh, you have kangaroos in the backyard? I have yelling neighbors in my backyard.
Yeah, I don't have any kangaroos here. All I've got is some koi fish in a pond. So yeah, quite Japanesey, really, I suppose.
Oh, and I have to also give a big shout out to my podcast partner, Mario Aldin, because he's the one who introduced us this March when we both attended Social Media Marketing World 2017. That's where I met you and saw you the first time. And Mario, when he saw you, he was like, oh my gosh, Jeff, he's amazing. He's such a legend. I'm like, Jeff, what Jeff? So he grabbed me, he dragged me to, I'm like, okay, hi, Jeff. So I'm very grateful for him to be telling me how big you are before I could read and hear everything from you.
I'm not that big. I'm actually quite short, really. So yeah.
I wasn't wearing high heels, so it was okay.
Okay, yeah. Well, I wasn't wearing high heels either, luckily, so it wouldn't have been a good look. Okay.
So the main reason why I brought you here, besides that you're awesome and you're a legend, it's because your written content, it's absolutely amazing. I think I'm following you on all your platforms. I'm following you and sharing everything I can on Twitter. I'm reading your blog posts. I also downloaded your free ebook about, the hacks for the blogging. And sometimes it's, it's really hard to come up what to write about. And I think that your huge charm, it's the power of the storytelling. I love it. You share stories and the way you write, it's just so capturing. So can you tell us a little bit more about your personal view about power of storytelling on social media?
Yeah, storytelling is, I suppose, is the essence of us as human beings. It's been with us for tens of thousands of years, and tapping into that is really, really important, because you're going to touch people's, not just their minds, you're going to touch their hearts and souls. And I think that's really important to understand. And there's a great quote which says that people forget what you told them, but they will not forget how you made them feel. And that's very much what storytelling is about. And I so often I go and see presentations and listen to other speakers, and a lot of them are very, very good speakers, but I believe that a lot of them don't use the power of story to actually get their point across. And I think that's really, really important to understand, is that you've got to touch people, inspire them emotionally. And death by bullet point is a reality that I think is sadly overused, and storytelling has got to be woven into almost every aspect of what you do when you're actually communicating, whether you're writing or whether you're speaking from stage or running a workshop. Storytelling is the heart and soul of powerful communication.
Yes, you're so right. And I heard that quote before, and I love it. You know, I have to admit, I'm a quote junkie. So I love this quote. It's definitely true. You know, when time passes, what you really remember is how you felt in that moment, you know, not exactly the words, but how it made you feel. So I think that that's a great insight. Yes. And let's...
Yeah, and it just keeps yeah. Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
It was Yoast to me. I was actually in San Francisco about a month ago, and I bumped into one of the engineers, I think, from a startup, 23net and VideoNet, and he said to me, I hadn't seen him for a year, and he came up to me and said, I remember the story you told me in Oslo, Norway last year. And I went, wow. So that just, reinforced to me that using stories to get your point across is just the heart and soul and the essence of powerful communication.
That's fantastic. Because I have my own company as social media marketing manager, so I help people managing their accounts, but I'm also helping entrepreneurs and coach them about the branding and how to write, how to take the videos and all those little steps. But sometimes they tell me that it's really hard to be consistent, to really find always the new things to write, if it's the captions, if it's the blog post. So how do you stay inspired? Like, how do you come up with so much content? You have so much content, like always, and all of it is very high quality. So where do you find your inspiration to write?
Inspiration is not something that sort of taps you on the shoulder on the top of a mountain and comes out of a vacuum. It's not something that just shows up on the beach when you're, just sitting there. Inspiration and, content, and it comes from one thing. And it's a great quote by Stephen King. He says, if you want to write a lot, you need to read a lot. There is no other way. And so what you've got to do is you've got to feed your mind and your soul with great content. It could be, watching a TED talk. It could be YouTube videos. It could be, a Facebook Live. It could be a podcast. It could be a great book. And what I love about books is the distillation of people's genius in just a few pages. And that's what's really powerful about a book. It's actually the crafted word and word wrangling that is the distillation of experience of decades. And that's what excites me when I read a book. And, some of the greatest thinkers in the world, you can almost guarantee that every one of them has read a ton of books. Elon Musk actually, his brother revealed recently that he read 30 books a month. So I don't know how he found the time to do that. Obviously a very fast reader, but maybe he did that when he was a teenager when he had a lot of time. I don't know, but that's the reality. You've got to read a lot. And luckily for me, when I discovered words and writing and reading when I was a 5-year-old, I fell in love with that, and I've been a book junkie and a bookworm, as we call it in Australia, as well. So luckily I was born that. But my son, who's actually slightly dyslexic, he has trouble reading, but guess where he gets his inspiration from? YouTube videos. So, so basically that's what you've got to do. You've got to be constantly reading. And when you get a great idea, what you need to do is you need to stop, whether it's stop the conversation, stop the car, and actually write the idea down. So I remember I was driving the car one day and I came up with a crazy idea for a blog post that said 10 reasons why ducks don't get social media. Okay. And it was just a bit of a crazy idea. And so I wrote it down and wrote a blog post about it. But yeah, so whenever you get inspiration, jot it down before it escapes, because quite often you'll actually, if you don't do that, you'll forget it.
That's, and that's why I see, Jeff, why we connected like right away, because after a couple messages that we exchange after the social media marketing world, I'm like, he's like a couple years older version of me. Because when I was growing up, I was reading books. I loved to be alone. When I was like 7 years old, I was reading Shakespeare. And I always I didn't have many friends, but I was reading all the old books from my grandma, and that's such a fantastic idea to stop everything and just write it down. And that's one trick that I'm also sharing with my clients. I bought a little a notepad that you can put in the shower, because the best.
Wow, okay.
Yes,
that's cool.
I get it like $8 from Amazon, and the best ideas were always going out of the train. And a couple times I almost kill myself, because I'm like taking shower or bath, and suddenly I'm like, that's such a great idea. I'm trying to run to my room, from the shower, everything is wet. My dog is looking at me like, oh my gosh, you just killed someone. So you are so right. You just have to stop the world and write it down, because even when I'm cooking or doing something, I'm like, I get an idea. I love listening to podcasts. I try audibles, but for me, really the best thing, it's really to just write everything down and to hold it in my hands. So I try audibles, but I'm like, I cannot grab it. I cannot put my notes there. So I need to write in my books,
Yeah, it's important to grab it in the moment. So I sometimes when I'm having a conversation with someone over a coffee or that glass of wine, I'll actually stop the conversation going, excuse me, I just had an idea. Been so enlightening that I've stopped the conversation.
That's amazing.
Just for a moment.
You just have to train the people around you. Everybody stops, like in metrics, I gotta write my idea. That's amazing. Also, let me ask you real quick, Jeff, because Jen, who is watching us, she was asking if you have any special app to write your notes and inspirations, or you have a pocket notebook. Where do you write all your notes or inspirations?
I keep it really, really simple. I just use, I have an Apple iPhone, and I just use the notes section in there, and that's where I put it. So that is, once I've written it down, I actually can email it to myself as well. So hunting for it, I don't know where it is. I can go, I was wrote something about this, and then I can do go to my email and search for it and find it there, or just go to my notes and my notes app, which is a little native app on the Apple iPhone. I use that. Very simple, but I think simplicity is important. Don't overcomplicate things,
That's fantastic, because that's exactly what I'm using too, That's why I'm laughing, because I'm like, yes, I have my iPhone, I use my notes, I put all my notes there and ideas after meditation or after walk. And usually in the nature, I get the most inspiration when I get out of town, when there is a quiet, you're just really there down. And I'm walking my dog and with my phone in hands. And I just write down everything that comes in my mind. And that's the best.
Yeah, and I think that taking that quiet time to go for a walk is quite often places where the inspiration that comes from the consumption and the reading and the content that you're viewing can come in as a great. I think there's a line in a song by Leonard Cohen, who passed away last year or this year, and he said, "There's a crack in the universe. That's how the light comes in." And I think that's actually reality. You need to actually have that quiet time for to have that inspiration come in.
Oh, that's amazing. I didn't heard about that. That's fantastic. Also, Mario was asking, how do you storyboard or create a narrative for a blog idea? What is the process like?
Starts for me normally with a headline, and that's the inspiration. And quite often, I will sometimes write down a multiple variety of those sort of headlines. Then it might be a story as an intro. It's just a lot of word wrangling. It's like you start with a few ideas and I put them down. I usually like writing straight into WordPress, the back end of WordPress as a draft. Mm-hmm. I just love doing that. Sometimes I do use a Word document, but typically I do like just using the back end of WordPress and creating a draft document and a draft post. And quite often I will put in subtitles, so something that might capture people's interest to drag them further into the article. But it's a lot of wrangling. It's just this taking this cloud of confusion, which is all the information you have, and then doing research and then dropping it in and then moving it around, sometimes up and put it at the bottom. And so it's very much a creative process of taking something rough and draft and just moving it around and until you're finally happy enough with it to hit the publish button. So there is no real process I use. It's more just one of sitting down, put the thoughts computer on into the back end of as a draft document and just keep working at it. And sometimes it gets very frustrating. So it's not quite what I want. I need to go and do some more reading here or go and do a Google search on this topic in another area. So it's no hard and fast process, but starts with the headline and then and also go looking for a story, and maybe a great way to segue and take people into what you want to reveal in your blog post or your article or your book. Yeah.
Fantastic. And that was also one thing I wanted to ask you about, the headlines and the keywords, because I mentioned it to you before in a private conversation. I was always a little bit afraid I used to be not writer. I used to write for a newsletter in Czech Republic, and also I was writing poems, but it was very easy for me in Czech and in Spanish. Then I United States, I started writing, and some people, they were like, oh, what's your grammar? This doesn't make sense. So that really discouraged me, and I stopped writing, and I used to love it. So thanks to you, I sat down and I told myself, like, the people really doesn't matter, because if the people, their main interest is just to see my grammar, then they are not getting the point, like why I'm writing. Yep. But I still have to say, thanks to you, I write a little bit more on my blog. But then there is another blocking. Should I be overthinking the headlines? It's just the process. Should I just sit down and write and get better in writing? Or do you really do a research and really thinking, the capturing headlines, the keywords? When you get to that really, I would say, like, the professional process.
Yeah. For me, the challenge that you face is something that I believe is quite a tough one, because English is a second language for you, and that's a biggie. So I could understand that not wanting to write in English after being so prolific in Czech is wow. Hats off to you to do that, and that's why I encouraged you. Is that I used to get the grammar police and that all turn up to my blog and saying your grammar's crap, Jeff, and you made a spelling mistake, and here's a typo, and I went, guess what? I'm actually putting it out there. So, but in terms of keywords, I don't. The headline is something that I just put down initial headline, then I'll worry about it later. And if I have ideas about another headline, I'll actually just drop them into the bottom of the blog post, and I'll maybe come up with 4 or 5 as I sort of continue to write. So, sometimes I come up with a bit of a blog. I'm not happy with the structure, and this is where you sort of just got to strap yourself in and just do the work, because it's a routine. So I came across a great book which was recommended to me in a mastermind event in Phoenix last year, and as I and it's a book by Newport called Deep Work. How to create great content. It's about creating great content and building great work in a world full of distraction. And as I read it on the plane coming back from Phoenix back to Sydney, I realized that he was using the term deep work was actually something that I'd been doing. He'd given a name to a habit and a routine that I had, which was just sitting down every day and allocating and time blocking and creating a habit of just writing every day. And for 4 years, I got up from 4:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. and actually wrote and then hit the publish button on my blog post. And what I realized is that he had given me a term for what I'd been doing. I'd been doing deep work. And so the reality is that when you sit down and create a habit of doing deep work every day, and it doesn't have to be in the morning. For me, that worked. It could be late at night if that works for you, or it could be that you're going to write a blog post once a week and you might say, I'm going to allocate Friday mornings to write. But what you do is you make sure that time is sacred, and you actually then make sure that you sit down, strap yourself in, throw away the key and just do it. So that habit has created the biggest transformation in my life. And I wrote a blog post about it called The One Habit That Transformed My Life. The reality of actually sitting down, creating that habit of doing deep work and doing that 5 days a week. And when you do that year in, year out, it is amazing what you can produce. And so I loved it when I read that book, is that he'd given a name to what I'd been doing.
I will put all the notes, because I'm listening and I'm writing as you speak. So I write like a chicken here, but that's a fantastic book. I personally didn't read it, but my other couple clients told me about it. And what I realized is I was doing this with my social media, and I was also doing this with my school. You know, I just blocked the time that I turn off all the distractions. I had a certain time that I will do only that one thing. And I think you're right. You just have to sit down and really focus on that and just do it. So I will include the Kyle Newport Deep Work in the notes, and I'm ordering it today on Amazon because you suggested it. So whatever you suggest, I'm doing it.
Okay. I'll be careful what I suggest then. Okay.
Be careful, because if not, I will move to Australia and I will be only reading books and writing.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is that sometimes you do need to get other stuff done. And but the reality is, I remember having a conversation with a good friend of mine. He'd moved from Boston to Australia, and he was trying to get more consulting work, and he got a fair bit of it. And he said to me one day, it was we caught up after work one day at the end of the day, and he said, I'm busy, I'm earning a lot more money than I was last year, but I'm feeling like I'm not achieving anything. And I said, do you sit down and actually, how's your blog going? Are you actually writing anything for you? Are you investing in you? And that's where, when you actually write and create, whether it doesn't have to be writing, it could be creating a video, it could be making a podcast. They all can go into the elements of deep work, because you've got to distill, ideas into something that's got clarity and structure. So he said, no, I'm not doing that. And I said, well, I think it's time that you need to sit down and actually invest in you. There's a lot of people that are writers. They write for organizations, or they're photographers. They do photography for everyone else, but they don't actually do something for them. They don't invest in themselves and also hit the publish button on it. So it's not just about creation. It's also being able to share your creation with the world, because I believe that's really where the magic happens, is where you actually share your creation with the world, because then the world has a conversation with you, and then you get feedback that helps you polish that rough draft and that idea and creates more clarity as you have that conversation. So that's why not only is creation important, but actually publishing or shipping it, if it's a product or something, is that where the real magic happens, is that art of sharing and being vulnerable with the world and be willing to be judged. And that's where it gets really, really exciting. And that's the scary part. A lot of us are perfectionists.
Yeah.
And the problem with perfectionism is that it's the enemy of done. So that's what you've got to be really, really conscious of, is that you've really got to get your creation out to the world and be willing to be judged, because that creates the legacy. That's the one that makes a difference.
I absolutely love it. Like, I could be just sitting here and you can be talking hours and hours and hours. I did a blog post a few weeks ago, and it was called Done is Better Than Perfect. And
Yep.
today I was actually submitting I'm finishing my master's degree in business, and I have to submit like a video presentation, including the PowerPoint presentation. And the last part of it, they are asking you, what is the one biggest thing that you got from MBA? What have you learned like a person? And my sentence there was, done is better than perfect. Because when I started my school, I was so scared of failure. I was so scared of being judged. I was thinking that being vulnerable and open with others means that you are weak. Because, like you always want people to look up to you and be strong and things. And as the months passed, because I'm finishing my master's degree in just 6 months, not to be bragging, but just to tell others that if they're crazy enough, they can do anything they want. But I was sharing there when I started my MBA. When I failed to submit a task, when they send you work for revision, they say, oh, you need to work on this or this. It took me a weeks to get over my ego, to get over and say, oh, I'm not good enough. I have to do it perfect now. Now, if I get task return, I take a deep breath, I sit on it. I'm like, okay, let's redo it. I submit it again. If they will return it 5 and other times, I don't care, because failure, it's part of the growth. And that it's better than perfect. So that's what I'm doing with my writing. I sit down, I write it, I hit the publish, and is my grammar perfect? No. Do I do it as often as I would like to? No. But it's better than it was ever before. So we're on the same vibe.
Absolutely.
I love that. Yes. And Melissa also shared the same thought that she always tried to do everything perfect and never share. So I think that the sharing, publishing part, it's huge. Like somehow we know that if you just write it, it feels good, but it feels good for you. But until you really hit the publish, the share, when you really open yourself to the world and say, hey, you're not the only one. That's how you said it's when the magic happens. Because to be honest, like my company is super small. I'm just starting. So I'm super grateful to have such a social media guru like you on my mini little broadcast. And I hugely appreciate you. I keep telling you, thank you. But it's just me. I overthink everybody. But I just really appreciate you. But I think that that's just, sometimes we feel like we are talking to ourselves. Sometimes I do Facebook Live and I have like 1 or 2 viewers, or I publish something and I never heard nothing back. So sometimes I feel like little entrepreneurs or small businesses or bloggers or photographers, creatives, sometimes we feel like we're talking to ourselves.
Yep, and that can be a lonely place. And but you've got to start somewhere, and that's the reality. A conversation with just 1 or 2 people. That's where it's got to start, and we all start there. And that's the part, is actually keeping up with, it's basically understanding that you're going to play a long game, and that's going to it's just one additional viewer or reader, every day or once a week. So it's tough.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. This is a marathon. This is a long run. Once you decide to do it, you just have to stick with it and be consistent.
Yeah. And it's being consistent and persistent is really important to actually just keep at it. And if you do 2 things, number 1, create the content, and number 2, the marketing. Keep pushing it out there. Just keep pushing it out there. Then the world will show up, but it might take time.
What would you suggest, Jeff, for the marketing part? Once we create the content, what would you suggest to do for the marketing? I know there are like millions of things that you can do, but is there any like the basic, the most important, something that everybody has to do?
Yeah, a lot of people get trapped in just one channel. Could be Facebook. That's all they're going to push their content out to. You've got to pursue a multi-channel approach, and it's important to actually do that. So you maybe need to pick your top 2, 3 social media channels. For me, it's Twitter's my big one, because I've been able to grow a following on there by following certain tactics. Facebook, it's hard to get organic reach on Facebook now. You've got to pay for that attention. Mm-hmm. And build your audience on LinkedIn as well, especially if it's B2B. Okay, publish your photos on Instagram, put them, create PowerPoint presentations, put them on SlideShare, create personal magazines on Flipboard, and that can drive up to 25% of my traffic on some good days if I have a great blog post that resonates on the platform. Build your email list. That's important too, because that is something you can do by adding value. And you need to have a website and a blog that actually allows you to capture those email addresses by having an exchange of value. By, if you give me an email address, I'll give you a great free ebook or a free PDF that'll reveal the tools I use to grow my traffic, for example. Mm-hmm. So you've got to pursue a multi-channel approach to your marketing. Don't just think that publishing and sharing on Facebook and getting a few followers on Facebook is going to do the trick. It's not. Facebook wants you now to pay to get that attention, and that's fine. They've got to make money, but there's a lot of different other channels that I've just mentioned that you need to and doesn't to use, because it quite often doesn't take much to actually just publish a new post and then share it on Flipboard and share it on LinkedIn. Even put it on Google Plus. It takes you a few seconds, right? Even though Google Plus doesn't have many people on it, you'll find that it's just another way of reaching another range of people. And also put your content into a variety of modalities. So, for example, here with what you're doing here, if you're recording this, you actually, number one, it could be on Facebook Live. Number two, you could also be doing a Periscope. Number three, you actually could be recording it with a camera, which then you can turn into a YouTube video. And then you can put that video onto a blog post and embed it there. Then you actually could take the audio and then turn that into a podcast. So there you go. You actually can repurpose one type of content and put it in a variety of places and in a multiple number of modalities, because people learn in different ways. Some people love to listen, some people like to view, some people like to read. So you've got to just be incredibly persistent and also multi-channel in your approach to actually your marketing.
You are so amazing. Like, you're talking and I'm like, yes, I'm writing all my notes. That's fantastic. That's amazing. I have all the notes about I never heard about the Flipboard. I'm always learning something new, so I will check it out after we finish. I will look it up. Yeah.
There's about 100 million users on Flipboard. So it sort of, just flies under the horizon a little bit. So I discovered them about 3 or 4 years ago. They kicked off, I think 2000. They've been around a while, 2010. But yeah, they're a pretty cool company. I met with the team, product team, and marketing team in Palo Alto in Silicon Valley just recently when I was in San Francisco speaking at the Marketo conference. And pretty cool publishing company, Social Curation magazine. That's what they do. So it's go and check it out.
That's amazing. Yeah, I have the note. That's like all you just gave me. That's just the gold, and not just me, but also because we shared for the listeners too. And like you suggested, I will definitely multi-purpose it. Yes, because some people, they say that it's better to become expert at one thing, and then I really like the multi-channel, the approach. Definitely, yes. And let me also ask you, Jeff, are you doing everything yourself, or do you have like virtual assistants who are helping you, or?
I've got a virtual team, so and also I have a person that actually looks after my marketing manager, I suppose. A lovely French lady called Maya. She actually started in February this year, and she's actually been working hard at a variety of projects to keep building out the digital assets. whether it's building out quizzes for lead generation, or whether it's working on an SEO project for search engine optimization, because we need to keep making sure that Google can crawl the site and discover the right keywords and phrases and continue to build authority on search engines. I think that is really, really important. I think as marketers, especially social media marketers, they get trapped in what I call the shiny new toy syndrome. All they're doing is just chasing the next Snapchat or and Facebook Live is great, but I think there's a lot of really bad content on Facebook Live, just people having streams of consciousness which aren't particularly about anything important. So I think it's important too to actually create great content no matter what modality you're on, but make sure, and you're focusing more on maybe doing Facebook Live stuff, which is great. And then as you get more experience, you might say, well, I'm going to turn that content to something else. I'm going to repurpose it into another platform. I just did an interview with some guys this morning from Indianapolis, and they actually were doing all of that. They're taking one piece of content, which is essentially a live, which then is Periscope, which is also turned into a video, which is also turned into a podcast. So the thing is, that takes resources and it takes skills and it takes time. So I think the thing to do is yes, to focus on just one or two things and then get good at that, and then you can build it out over time. Just take baby steps first, which is what we've all got to do.
Perfect. Yeah, that's really great plan. Let me also ask you, for the CEO, do you use any specific tools, or is there anything that just the beginners can be using? Because I know there is like Google Ads, but is there anything that you would suggest to be using? For
SEO, search engine optimization, well, we use some tools like SEMrush. We use Google Analytics. We use, some other tools I can't remember off the top of my head. I use some simple plugins like Yoast on WordPress, which you need to just make sure your headline, your meta description, which is what you see when you turn up to a Google search. You see the description underneath the headline, the URL, the keywords in the actual article itself, which are published online. So Yoast is actually just a very, very simple tool which you can use so it makes sure that you're doing the most important things well. And it might be only 4 or 5 things. Keyword research, that can be really important. There's a variety of tools out there to do that, to try and say, okay, what are the 10 key categories we're going to work in? And then it's also the long tail keywords that sit under that. So, but yeah, just if you've got a WordPress blog, just go and when we finish the show, just go and make sure that you've got Yoast loaded into your WordPress backend and use it.
Perfect. Yeah, I think I heard of it. I think on Social Media Marketing Examiner, somebody also mentioning it, and then you get back to your reality at home, and it's like, oh, I learned so much. Oh, I forgot it. What was it that I was supposed to everything use? I will. Yeah. I will definitely look at it, and I will put everything that we are sharing in the notes. Yeah, because all these is amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Jen's got a question. Says, does Wix have that in terms of SEO? I'm not sure, Jen, whether Wix has much in the way of SEO. That's why I love WordPress, because it's got decade of development and just so many different plugins and that you can use that do the things you really need to get done. So yeah, I don't know. You'd have to find out whether Wix allows you to do good SEO things, and whether there's actual tools that can facilitate search engine optimization on the Wix platform.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And also, for those who are not watching us right now live, please leave any comments in the notes. I will make sure that I will be logging back into the Facebook and go over all the comments. So if you find this helpful, just share it, comment below, or tag a friend who you think that they will enjoy this. Because like I said, Jeff, it's full of gold. I think that that's more than I can even ask you in one day, Jeff. This is all amazing. I'm so happy that I was able to talk to you, to see you. Thank
Been
you
a
so much
pleasure.
for taking the time. And if for any reason I'm not going to see you before, I'm going to see you next year on Social Media Marketing Examiner, I hope.
I hope to be there. Absolutely. Yeah. So it's a great, it's a good party, really.
Right? Yeah. You know, this year it was for me the first time. So I'm like,
Yep.
I don't know where I am. I don't know what this is about. I don't know who are all these crazy people running around. Luckily, Gabo Garcia and Mario Aldin, they grabbed my hand and they just dragged me around, show me the important people, important places. So next year, I hope it will be for me party too. And I'll see you there.
Well, it's not just about the party; it's about the people. That's what I loved about it. Is actually, and to meet you for the first time. That was fabulous, and yeah, just to share, I suppose, with the tribe that we have, and that's what social media is so cool. The social networks allow us to connect with our tribe globally, and then occasionally to meet up in real life, on the other side of the planet. And I love that. I just, I remember bumping into I think it was Amanda Robbins as well, and we're having a conversation. And she said, "I feel like I've met my tribe," and I went, "Welcome," because it is. It's actually a tribe of people with common interests that have seen the future, and the future is the ability to share their creativity with the world, driven by the power of the platforms and the social networks. So that's what's exciting. It's incredibly empowering, and that's what you're doing now. You're actually creating and sharing, and congratulations. It's awesome.
Thank you so much. And I love Amanda too. I met her there for the first time. I was just in love with all the pink and everything she was wearing. And then we also connected with just a few more people. I connected with Amanda after, and she's amazing. So yeah, I'm really excited to go there next year, and it will feel like going back to friends and family.
That's right, exactly.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Jeff, for today's interview. I really appreciate you, and I'm looking forward to all your valuable content where I am, and not just me, but also others are learning so much from you. You're awesome.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. See ya. Bye.